I've posted on Threads 3 times every day for 527 days, and doing this has helped me go from 17 followers and 0 knowledge of social media to a 10.9K followers, specifically Threads. What I'm going to help you do today is overcome the biggest challenge most of you have inside the community, and that is consistency. You can't be exceptional without being consistent. Consistency is the biggest challenge. The most common problem or challenge that people cite as they come into the community is consistency. My promise to you is that I will give you a clear framework to become more consistent so you can become exceptional. And the way we're going to do this is giving you my foolproof formula for consistency, which I have honestly been thinking about for maybe a couple of years now. The topic for this class came about because I was listening to one of the Hormozy Q&As for the school games, and the theme of that was one of his most viral tweets. Actually, it is his most viral tweet ever, and I think he's done like 20,000 tweets. And the quote goes, "You must be consistent before you can become exceptional." So, full transparency, that's the guiding principle of what we're discussing. The breakdown of what that means exactly is my own breakdown of it. So, key principle is Hormozy's, but the way we're breaking it down is my own. As I was listening to that, I was like, this could be something very useful for all of us in light of the fact that consistency is such a big challenge for so many of us. And now I'll share my screen so we can all see it. Alrighty. So this is the framework. And as I said, I'll go through this, but if you find it super confusing, just ignore it for now. As we go through this class, it should make more sense if I'm doing something right. Guiding principle is consistency helps us become exceptional. We're going to look at briefly what consistency actually means and what exceptional actually means. In short, the way I've defined consistency is through this formula: habits plus learning plus perseverance. Exceptional means basically you're amazing and you get special results. Why is it even worth being exceptional? Because we want to get results that most people don't get. And honestly, I'd say that's what 100% of the people in our community want to be in some shape or form, because the pathway that we've chosen for ourselves is not average. And that leads us to this next point in the flowchart, which is, what does average mean? Thank you, Kevin. This leads us to, we all want to get results that most people don't get because of the fact that we're in this community and what this pathway represents. That means that we can assume we all want to be exceptional in some degree. Getting these results means we have to do what most people don't do, because by definition, if we're average, we're going to do what most people do. Following this flowchart, if we want to become an exception, we need to do what others don't. So far, can I just get a thumbs up or some nods if everyone's roughly following where we're going with this? On the same page, makes sense so far. We're going to go into more depth into these specific elements. This is to give you an overview of what we're dealing with, because I like to start big picture and then zoom in. If you don't have that big picture, we can get lost in the weeds and not really know where we're going. So, as I said earlier, that's what being exceptional is. But then what about consistency? My framework for consistency is this 3-part formula: habits plus learning plus perseverance. A habit is just doing things regularly. And then we're going to have an example of that. And this is where we'll really get into the crux of actionable stuff. Then learning is getting better over time. And I'll show you an example of that, a big mistake that lots of us in the community have made. And I was making it for a long time. And it's probably the biggest thing that's preventing a lot of your growth. Perseverance is simply never giving up. And we'll get into how you can cultivate your own perseverance. So that is the more in-depth plan for our class. Is that roughly making sense so far? Everyone on the same page? Cool. Okay. So that's our framework. I'll try to zoom in a bit more so we've got a clearer view. This guiding principle from Hormozy, the key essence of it is you must be consistent before you can become exceptional. Here are some really key, easy definitions for what each of these words mean. Consistent is literally just doing, it's what you do regularly, and that is what builds your foundation that you can then keep building upon. And exceptional is achieving results that most people don't get. We've got a 3-part breakdown: habits, learning, perseverance. Habits is doing things regularly, learning is getting better over time, and perseverance is never giving up. We'll get into some examples to show you exactly how these things play out in the context of threads growth. But just remember these 3 ingredients, because you can't be truly consistent without all 3. Delving a little bit deeper into what being exceptional means. It means being really special and amazing. So that's a simple definition, but I think it's a good starting point. This is a nice, easy example to remember. You draw a picture, it's so good, and it makes people say, wow. These are the results that we want to get, because again, if we're getting what most people get in terms of results, by definition, we are average. And this again leads me to double click into this point of why we want to be exceptional. We don't like this path is not easy. It's easy. It's sheltered. I get told what to do. I don't have to think about how to make money. I go and start at this time and clock off at this time, and I get paid. I want to recognize that I'm very lucky to have a job, and I'm not dismissing how hard it is for some people to get jobs based on where you are in the world. I want to acknowledge that I'm privileged to have that that luxury of having a job that pays me enough to live. Just having those confines and having people deal, this is what you do, and go and do this, and then you clock off here, and you just get paid, and you don't really have to think about it. In that sense, it's easy, and that's what most people do. And that is the average. That's normal. What we're doing has none of those expectations, security, or comfort. It's uncertain. There's no idea of when or how you'll get paid. There are no boundaries. You can feel very lonely, and it can be super hard. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's felt that. That's why I created Saints College, because I wanted to address all of those things, not only for myself, but for all of you in the community. The point I'm really trying to make is that we're doing something that is hard because it's so uncertain, and it doesn't have the security attached to it like a normal job would. We want to become exceptional because we're doing stuff and we're here because we're not just at a job right now, or at least maybe we are, but we're still here and, you know, don't tell the boss sort of thing. That is why we want to be exceptional. We want to pave a pathway for ourselves that most other people haven't, which means we have to do different shit. How do you do that? You become the exception and you achieve exceptional results. At this point, that's really the essence of what I wanted to touch on for this idea of being exceptional. What I really want to drive home is that what I want to be able to agree on with all of you here, can we all agree that we want to achieve exceptional results? And don't overthink it in terms of, I need to be like Elon Musk. I just want you to agree that you want to be exceptional in terms of achieving results that aren't average. Can we all agree on that fact alone? Lots of thumbs up from Kevin, Leisha, awesome, love it. Kayan, Ansari, love it. Okay, cool. Because this is an important point to agree on, because if we don't all want to get exceptional results, then the rest of the call about being consistent, it's not going to matter, right? Because we're not on the same page. So I wanted to get really clear on that. And by the way, there is a lot of repetition here, but I truly believe that repetition is one of the key parts to learning. That's why we're driving home these points. So now let's get into consistency more, because as we've just agreed, we want to be exceptional. Now we've got to figure out how to get there, and consistency is how. First one is habits. We'll get into examples in more depth in a second, but as we've already established, habits is our sort of first foundation. Think of it as a tripod, the tripod of consistency. Consistency being a camera that sits on top of a tripod. One leg of the tripod is habits, another leg is learning, and another leg is perseverance. If you take away one of these legs, the tripod crumbles and the camera falls off, meaning you don't have consistency. So you need to have each of these legs. That's why we're going to be spending a bit of time on each one. Now, first leg of the consistency tripod is habits, which means we got to do things regularly. Now, tying this into threads, the number one habit that I advocate for is posting 3 times per day. Why? Kevin had a period for the first few parts of his Threads journey where I think he was doing like once a day. And then I remember reading one of your posts a while ago, and it was like something to the effect of, I started posting 3 times per day and basically I 3x my results. It was just so obvious that the more reps really helped here. More reps is not necessarily an easy thing to do. So that's why we need to make it a habit. We need to have a system for doing that. We'll go into a system that you can use with a content calendar in the next section. This is something we've just finished going through in the paid cohort. I'll give you a summary version of that in the example section. Then we get into learning. As we've already discussed, we have to get better over time. And the key example for Threads is if you just show up in Saints College regularly, you can tick that box. And I consider that my responsibility to continue to allow you to get better over time and to give you everything you need to do that, and really for free. Like, you can get better over time in Saints College as it is now, all for free. And as long as you continue to show up and learn, you are covering this leg of the consistency tripod. However, and this is a really key part, and I'll get into some examples of this in a second. Imagine if you've got the habit of posting 3 times per day without learning and getting better over time. Just want to plant that in your mind and think about what the results of that could be in the context of Threads specifically. Because I've seen a lot of people who have this one leg of habits, but they don't ever actually do the learning leg. And we'll get into why that's problematic in a second. Then we've got perseverance. Arguably, it's all 3 of these legs are just, you can't take any out, but this is probably the most profound. It's the most high level, and it's the one where you get your fuel. And perseverance is just defined as never giving up. And tactically speaking, your fuel for never giving up is your why. And your why will push you forward when things get hard. I'll talk about my why, and I think it explains any sort of results that I've had because of how powerful my why is. And we'll talk about how you can create your own why, even though you might not have the same as mine. What happens when you don't have a strong enough why? Essentially, you'll quit. You might have seen a video that I posted in our community yesterday called The Secret Mindset Hack That Helped Me Gain 10,000 Followers. And it was referring to Charlie Munger's mental model of inversion. This mental model states that if you want to achieve anything, don't think about how to achieve it. Just think about what you have to do to fail, and then do the opposite. For example, if I want to get rich, following this mental model of inversion, I should think about, how do I get poor? And an easy way to guarantee that I will be poor is to spend more than I earn. If you invert the problem, I know that I just can't spend more than I earn. If I just don't do that, then I will eventually become rich with enough time. The reason why I bring that up is because perseverance is similar. If you quit, you've got a guarantee that you will not achieve your goal and you will not become exceptional. Okay. So again, that's getting into a bit more depth on each of these legs of the consistency tripod: habits, learning, perseverance. Habit is doing something regularly. Learning is getting better over time. And perseverance is never giving up. Now, some more tactical examples. I mentioned a content calendar earlier. I think this will be the most useful thing that you'll take away from the class in terms of something actionable that I would recommend you go and start implementing today or tomorrow. Alicia, myself, and a few others inside the paid cohort, we've been following this every day for 30 days. Like, I've been doing it and I've gained almost 1,500 followers over the last month. And a lot of other people have been achieving similar results. It works. All right. And let's go open in calendar. And by the way, I'll give you, oh, that's not helpful. Okay. A different screen is coming up for me now. Just bear with me. Okay. That'll have to do. Let's start off with Monday. Actually, next Monday will be better. Based on this habit of posting 3 times per day, the next question is, how do I do that? What do I do? And my best answer to that is just start breaking it down. I've figured out that there are only 3 types of posts that you can post on threads. One is a one-liner, one is a listicle, and one is long form. Long form is when you've got multiple sections or mini posts strung together. And I'll go through an example of each of these in a second. A listicle is just one short form post and it's got bullet points or numbers. And then one liner, I haven't come up with a better name for this, but it's literally just anything that a listicle isn't that's still short form. So let me quickly just come up and get an example of this. So this is a one liner. And as I said, the name's maybe a bit shit because technically it's not one line, but it's just a short form post that's not actually a listicle. You've got a hook here, the body here, and then a close here. Short, punchy, to the point, normally gets high engagement and high likes because it's hard for people not to read it. And it's hard for people to dismiss it because it requires minimal effort. And if it's good, because the minimal effort required, it will get good engagement. Then a listicle is something like this. As we've got here, we've got a hook and then a staircase of steps, or in this case, a numbered list. The final sentence is actually the last part of the list. As you can see here, I've embedded a cheeky CTA to follow me. It actually generated like 25 or so followers, which was pretty good. So there's a little side note that you can try out. Long form is, sure, we're all pretty aware of what these are, but I'll just put an example in here so we're all on the same page. This was a long form from last night. As you can see here, we've got a hook and then the first mini post beneath it and a bunch of other ones beneath that. We want to post 3 times per day. And here are the most basic 3 types of posts that you can do. Yep. Literally all it is to be consistent in terms of the habit leg of consistency is spreading out those 3 types of posts each day and each week. Think about that. Let it sit. If you haven't already had that revelation, there it is. That really right there is my hack for habits and posting 3 times per day. Every day I think, okay, which of these types am I going to post? And what this content calendar will help you do is eliminate that decision making and just tell you. So if that sounds good, here we go. So here we've got Monday, and let's go one-liner. Monday, you've got one-liner, and a listicle. Tuesday, long form, one-liner. Wednesday, listicle, one-liner, listicle. Thursday, long form, one-liner. And I'll explain the rationale or the why behind the way I'm doing it after I've done a full week. Another long form on Saturday. And then for Friday, let's go with one-liner, another listicle, Saturday, listicle, and long form. And then Sunday, let's go for, actually, one-liner. Let's go for 3 one-liners, bit of an off day. And that's it. So let me explain the why. You might have noticed that Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, 3 days of the week that we do long forms. Why 3 days per week? The whole point of being consistent is you need to be able to sustain it. I've done this for 530 or so days. And the long form approach of 3 times per week, I've only started doing maybe in the last 6 or so months because I was still figuring this stuff out a year ago. This is just the result of 17 months of figuring it out. The long forms are 3 times per week because we all have a life outside of this stuff. I probably just have less of one because this is what I do a lot. But I'm conscious that you still got to live and do stuff outside of this. And I think that if you are serious about becoming exceptional, this is a good balance or a good approach to doing that. In a perfect world, you would have 1 long form a day. But obviously, that requires like a lot of time and effort. And hey, if you're able to do that, great. But if not, 3 times per week is perfect. Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And these days of the week I've just chosen because middle of the week tends to be best for just general engagement on any social media platform. Saturdays and Sundays, some people have off. I've put a 3rd long form on Saturday because it gives you a gap on Friday to plan for the next one. It's not like Saturday is a bad day for engagement. So then you've got those 3 days, 1 day in between, and it works out pretty well. Then in terms of arranging the one-liners and listicles, you literally just fill in the gaps. And mix them up, except for Sunday. And you can think of Sunday as a bit of an off day. We've just got a bunch of one liners, short, impactful, heavy hitting truths. And then you've got listicles with one liners in some variation in the other days. Just duplicate that on every day of the week. And now you have your content calendar and your habit for consistent posting. Any questions about that? Don't overthink it. Just use those frameworks and those boundaries to help you be more consistent through this habit of posting 3 times per day. Honestly, I'm a huge believer in this paradox of boundaries not actually constraining creativity, but expanding it. So for me, let's say today's Wednesday, that I'm going to be posting 2 listicles and a one liner today. So now, if the listicle's at the top of my list, I'll be thinking, all right, cool. I'm not going to think about just what to post now because that's overwhelming. I'm thinking, what listicle am I going to post? And I know that 99% of the time, a listicle will have this kind of structure: a hook, some bullet points or a numbered list, and then a closing point. In this case, the closing point is actually the last point in the list, but that's the structure of it. So what I've gone from now is, oh shit, I've got to post now. What am I going to post to? Okay, I'm posting a listicle and it's going to have a hook, a body, a close. Do you see how that eliminates a lot of the overwhelm about what to post? Because you've now got these boundaries to work within that, for me personally, they don't constrain my creativity, they expand it. And this has been one of the key things that has helped me maintain this habit of doing what in this 1 week of a calendar every week for the last 70 weeks. Before we move on to the second leg of the consistency tripod, learning, and an example of that, does anyone have any questions about this example for the habit leg of the consistency tripod? One of our key principles inside the community is there is no such thing as a stupid question. I promise you, if you've got anything in mind, you're not the only one thinking it. Leisha, if you wouldn't mind keeping an eye on the chat and letting me know if someone does put something in there, because I can't see it on my screen at the moment. Anyone? I'm either explaining it really well, which I don't think I couldn't have explained that so well that no one has any question about what I've just gone through. I know I'm not that good. Come on, hit me with something.
All right. Somebody said, can you repeat the whole thing because they were totally lost the whole time?
All right. Are
I'm
you
just
fucking with me,
kidding.
Leisha?
No, I'm just kidding. Honestly, though, I think that you explained it very well. I don't
Okay.
know if anyone does have questions because you did really explain it well.
All right. Thank you. I'm just going to put it down to how simple it can be when you just take a first principles approach. What are the fundamental things that I know I should be doing to be exceptional? And this is the simplest way. Well, it's the simplest approach that I've come up with, and it's the approach that I take. Now, in the content calendar in our paid cohort, this is literally what we've got, with maybe a few exceptions. We definitely do our long forms on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. The combination of listicle and one liner and long one liner listicle, like maybe that is slightly different, but fundamentally it's all the same thing. Hopefully you can see that the simplicity of this just works because it reduces overwhelm and overthinking. So that's all I'll say on that. But if you do have any follow-up questions, just chuck it in the chat and we'll come back to it at the end. Moving on to an example for the second leg of the consistency tripod. We've solved that for you. I truly believe that if you just show up in Saints College, you've done this. And remember that learning just means getting better over time. That's it. Saints College will help you do that because you've got the community there and you can adapt the strategies and the tactics so you can improve over time. This is one of the biggest mistakes I see people in our community make. They've already told us that consistency is one of their biggest challenges. Consistency has 3 legs of the tripod: habits, learning, perseverance. And I think specifically their challenge is not consistency overall, but failing to get better over time. So, what do I mean by this? It means that I see them posting every day or 3 times a day, but they're not growing. I've seen people who have been around the 200 follower mark or 300, and they've been posting 3 times a day every day for like over a year, and they're just not growing. honestly, that is fine. It's not all about growth, but I'm assuming if you are in the community, you do want that sort of growth because you understand that for better or worse, it does help with other business outcomes. If we're all on the same page that we do want to grow, then you are doing it wrong because the feedback you're getting through your posts is not there. You're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. That's why you need this leg of the consistency tripod. You need to get better over time because if you just keep posting 3 times per day and don't try to get better over time, you will not grow, period. It's just a logical, fundamental truth. And this is, I don't know how else to put it, but it happens with so many of us. Yeah, thank you, Kevin. It really hurts me because I try my best to make it as easy as possible for everyone. It took me 2 months of posting 3 times per day every day to go from 17 to 100. And that was because I didn't get better over time because none of this stuff was out there yet. Threads was new and I was just navigating the landscape for the first time. But I truly believe that if you are in the community, you and you are committed and you want to become exceptional, you don't have any excuses because you have everything you need to get better over time. I'm saying this because I love you guys and it's tough love. I just want you to be able to achieve your goals. So please don't be the person who posts 3 times a day, stays at roughly the same follower count for a year, and never tries to get better over time. You won't get anywhere. That's all I have to say about that. Perseverance. Perseverance is the final leg of the consistency tripod. As I said earlier, it's the most profound because we've been getting in the weeds about habits, and this is really specific, actionable stuff. We've been talking more generally about why you need to get better over time because if you don't, then the habits are literally just a waste of time and you're wasting your energy. But then you've got the perseverance, and perseverance is, as we've defined earlier, never giving up. And the way you never give up is for you to know your why. Ask yourself, why do you want to grow on Threads? This is a really generic example to build an audience, grow your business, or create impact. So I'll give you my example and then we'll talk about how you can create your own. My why is that my mum had a clothing store called Saints Clothing. And this was about probably started at 20 years ago. And it became very successful in Perth, where I live in Western Australia. She had Pink come into the store and buy a lot of her clothes, the artist Pink. There was lots of publicity in the paper before, obviously, social media and really the idea of having online business was a thing. And it was great. But my mum got really sick with depression and bipolar and ended up dying by suicide 15 years ago. But her inheritance enabled me to continue going to school. And that was possible because she always believed in quality education. And that was something that stuck with me throughout my whole education. When I started my tutoring business 3 years ago, I realized that I almost felt a bit hypocritical because I was helping high school kids get into college or university when I didn't actually believe in college or university anymore. I felt disillusioned from my experience there. So I took my mum's mission of giving people quality education into the alternative education space. That is how Saints College was born. It's a homage to my mum's store, Saints Clothing. And now that's what I've wanted to pass on in everything I do in Saints College. And that mission of just providing quality education and making it accessible as well, like everything in Saints College is free. And then if people want to get more from that, they can go into our paid community, which will be coming out early next year. You can get everything for free if you want to in Saints College. And that's my why. Now, you might be thinking, that's some intense stuff. That's profound as fuck. Like, I don't have that. And you might not have that specific story of how your mum created a clothes store called Saints Clothing, because that's mine. But I promise you, you do have a why that is as profound. You only think it's less profound when you compare it to others, but it's no less profound because it's yours. So you do have a profound why, and you just need to think about what that is. And once you've got that and you've latched onto it, it's imprinted onto your brain, that is your source of unlimited energy, motivation, and fuel. It really is. If you don't think about what it is for you, you will quit at some point. As we've mentioned in the video yesterday and also 20 minutes ago or so, the one way you know that will guarantee you fail is by quitting. We've already established that we all want to be exceptional here. You've given me that digital signature. So I know you want to be exceptional. If you quit, you will not be exceptional. So you need to find your why. That is the logical framework. I'll say it again because I wholeheartedly believe it. I've spoken to a lot of you over the last 9 months. We've had so many great conversations. I know that you all have your why. It is profound for you, and that's all that matters. Other people's why and how intense or significant it might be does not matter because it's not yours. So please find what your why is and just latch onto it. Never forget about it. Let it sit in your subconscious every day because personally, it's so much bigger than me. I get goosebumps just thinking about that. That mission of I want to provide quality education for everyone in my little niche. And because it's so much bigger than me, if I'm having a shit day, but the why overshadows how I'm feeling because it's not just about me, it's about everyone else. So it's just this sense of purpose and mission. And honestly, that's what helps me get like that right there is my hack. It's my secret. But I don't think enough of you have spent enough time just pinpointing what that is for you. You have it. I know you do. So don't think you don't, because I know you do. And that's all I'll say about that. The guiding principle is be consistent before you become exceptional. And now this stuff is what I've been talking about. Your consistency formula, or as we've renamed it, the consistency tripod. The tripod has 3 legs, on top of which stands consistency. You need to have each of those 3 legs in order to have consistency, and you need to have consistency if you want to become exceptional. The 3 legs are habits. Habits is just doing things regularly. Learning is the second leg, and that's just getting better over time. And perseverance is never giving up. You want to become exceptional because you want to get results that most people don't get, which means you need to do what most people don't do. These 3 legs of the consistency tripod is how you get them. Consistency sets the foundation. Learning ensures you improve. Perseverance keeps you going when it gets tough. And habits ensure you get shit done. And to turn this into actions, learning, habits, and perseverance. Firstly, with habits, post 3 times a day using the content calendar, which I'll share in the chat. Then learning, getting better over time. Keep showing up in Saints College. I'm biased and I think it's the best place to continue learning. I just want to see you win and I'd love that for that to happen in Saints College. But even if it isn't, just make sure you keep learning about the thing that you love because the day you stop is the day you will start chasing your tail, but it will happen very gradually over time. You realize after a while that you're not making any progress. And I guarantee you it will be because you've just stopped learning. Finally, never forget why you're doing this. And a sort of action point that precedes this is find that why that keeps you going no matter what, because you have it. Final thing from me, and then I'll open it up to questions. Consistency alone won't make you exceptional. You need to have the 3 legs of the consistency tripod. You need habits, learning, and perseverance to stand out and get the results that most people don't. And that's my mic drop. Thank you, Kevin. That's all I wanted to say. Any thoughts, questions, queries, comments? What do you guys think?
I love how you emphasize the importance of knowing your why and staying consistent, posting 3 times a day, because I've always chalked it up to have a visual reminder and then that's all you need. But I've completely overlooked the fact that there was probably a reason I was doing it. And that's probably even more powerful sometimes than just having a visual reminder, but equally as important.
Because the visual reminder is almost like a symbol of the broader why. It's just to be like, oh, yeah, that's it. That's my fuel. Could be a word, like a symbol, like a rose or something. Equally, I think that once you do find that, I might have changed my mind there because the visual reminder is super important. But I do think that if that why is really important enough for you, it's actually just ingrained in your DNA. The visual reminder won't hurt, but it's almost redundant because it's in you. You just got to
I think it's the
shine a
visual
spotlight.
reminder makes it easier so that you don't have to sit there and go, did I do that today?
Oh, yeah.
Am I scheduled out for the week or not?
I see what you mean. Yeah. It's like
Yeah.
the habits. That's what the visual reminders helping
Yeah.
with. Yeah.
And it's like priming too, right? You look at your dashboard or wherever you keep track of stuff and you're like, I got to do that this week. 21 posts. Let's do it.
Honestly, I would be a mess without my to-do list. I would not be a functional human being. It actually scares me, the idea of not having it. But question for all of you, what part of that did you find the most helpful? Would love to know. And you can say nothing.
I think for me, one of the bigger takeaways was segmenting out the different types of content. I noticed myself, I don't have a problem with posting my 3 or whatever posts a day, but looking back at my account, I realized I don't differentiate the type of posts I'm making as much.
Yeah. And this was only something that I started to realize maybe 4 months ago after posting so many times. Those are the 3 main types. You can segment it even further if you want to, but it's keep it simple because it just works. Once you've got those 3 post types in mind and you spread them out across the week, each type of post has a slightly different outcome. The long forms will get the most followers when you do them well. The short forms will get the most views. That's a nice way to get some exposure. And oftentimes that can result in like the most likes as well. And then the listicles will also have a blend of what the one-liners get and the long forms get, in the sense that they'll get a good combination of views, likes, and follows, but not the most of any of those. It's like a blend. It follows that if you have a combination of all 3 of those throughout the week, you're hitting all the different main metrics that you want to be hitting. Didn't know about types of posts. There you go. Hopefully you found that useful. It's not something that I've seen discussed anywhere else. It's just the way that I've conceptualized it because it helps me think about what I'm doing. Sam goes, I've only joined late, but this is the exact plan I've been following since joining SC, and this is what massively helped to gain 4,992 followers in less than 7 weeks. Sam, student, has become the master. It took me 2 months to go from 17 to 100 last year, and Sam's just taking this strategy and absolutely crushed it. So don't just take my word for it. I've seen Sam grow and this insane result over the past almost 2 months. Everyone inside the cohort that we've been running has been following it. And everyone who's followed the actual plan that we've outlined in the content calendar, the lowest result has been from 100 followers to 670 in the month, which is still incredible because it's hardest to grow at the start. It just compounds and gets easier as you go. Sam, that's why you and I hit it off, because we started at 17 followers together. Does anyone have any other thoughts or questions about what we've gone through? Ben, sorry, or Kevin, Leisha?
Thanks again for this new time slot.
I'm glad it worked for you. It was very nice to see you here, and definitely Kevin as well. Appreciate you a lot, brother. It's nice to see you.
Dude, it's great to be here. I loved your presentation. It was awesome.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate that a lot. Last chance for questions. If not, we'll probably wrap up. So speak up now or forever hold your peace. Yay. Thanks, Ben. Sorry. All good, Kevin. Got a bounce. Great lesson. Thank you so much. Great to see you again, dude. This is awesome. See you, Kevin. Catch you soon. All right. Doesn't look like there are any other questions. So we'll probably call it a day. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming along. Really glad to know that the new time slot works for a few of you. The recording will be up before the next college class next week. Let me know. Just shoot me a DM in school or post inside the community if you've got any thoughts about what we spoke about and want to spread the knowledge to everyone else in SC before this recording is made available. That's probably the best way you can consolidate what we learned. And you've also got the Notion link to what we went through in the chat now. If you haven't grabbed that already, grab it now because you won't be able to once the call ends. Give you 5 to 10 seconds and then we'll call it a day. Thanks again, everyone. Much love. And sorry, great to have you on the first class. Leisha, appreciate you. Kayan, Sam, Fireflies, AI note taker. You the real MVP. See you guys soon. Ciao.